I used to work in an industrial area. It tends to be secluded and dark at night with minimal lighting used along the roads. I also lived close to this previous job, so I would walk home instead of taking the bus. The bus routes tend to be awkward and have long wait times, so I usually just walk. One night in early October, I had been walking through a parking lot to get to my place. I had to walk through quite a few on my route home. However, parking lots close to the main road were where these incidents occurred. Anyway, as I'm walking through a desolate parking lot, I'm listening to music and enjoying the walk itself, when I get this suspicious feeling that I should look behind me. When I look behind me, I see this individual wearing a hoodie and track pants. It appears to me maybe a woman. The person is pale, and definitely watching me after emerging from the bushes and trees. She picks up pace from behind me, but continues walking horizontal to me. Ran across the main road when I looked back, and I could see her standing next to the set of trees. She then realizes that I see her watching me, and jumps back into the trees to hide. I go into some random apartments to hide from her and wait some time. I then left and went back to my place. I told my mom about this incident, and she said, "You should have called the police." Now, my story doesn't end there. It's early November, and I have a weird feeling that there is someone in this parking lot I'm walking through. I was walking through a different parking lot this time, as the previous parking lot had freaked me out because someone was watching me. As I'm walking through this one, a person wearing a hoodie emerges from hiding behind a parked trailer talking on their phone. I'm now thoroughly freaked out and decide to pick up my pace just to get back to the main road as fast as possible, without hopefully alerting this person that I feel threatened. As I'm getting ready to cross the road, this person decides to cross the road as well, and watches me as I do so. I book it to those same random apartments, and hide there until I assume she was gone. Now, the last time this happened was mid-November, a week after the second incident. I'm walking through that same parking lot that I saw her in the second time. Dumb, I know. This time, she emerges again from hiding behind that same trailer and starts walking towards me. I decide to just run and get back to the main road. I get across the main road and look back, and she is gone. Soon, she must have just been hiding behind that trailer, as there's no way she could have gotten out of the parking lot in that time. I once again decide to hide in the same apartment complex. Now, I've not seen her as it's been snowing out, so it would be significantly easier to face, and it's too cold out to walk in a parking lot. I also no longer work there, so I no longer have to take that route to work. It could have easily been a man, as they were pretty tall, but I could have swore I heard her voice when she was talking on the phone when I saw her that first time. Pretty sure it was a white female with dark hair. I have not gone to the police, however, with any of this information, but I might. I doubt it will do anything, but my mom thinks maybe it will. Either way, to the man/lady who followed me creepily 3 times in the parking lot, let's never meet again. So I'm on Instagram pretty regularly. I mostly just post pictures of me or stuff related to me or what I'm doing. Of course, memes as well. Anyway, a few months ago, this random guy I've never met before starts following me. Usually I don't care who follows me because my account is public. A 17-year-old male, and this is a man about in his 50s, so it's obviously going to make me uncomfortable when he comments on every single post. I looked at his account, and it seems pretty normal, just pictures of him and other people. It started when he commented on one of my posts with a meme of a celebrity in it, and he says something like, "I met that guy one time." I replied with stuff that I usually do, like, "Whoa, that's cool," or something. And he replied to that, commenting, talking about the same stuff. He would continue to comment on my posts, and I don't really post that often. He wouldn't say weird stuff, just friendly stuff. But it was just recently I began to feel really uncomfortable. Now it won't stop. I don't remember exactly when he commented on a post, saying, "Hey, I replied to your story, but you don't follow me, so you can't see my DM." It's nothing creepy though. Now, of course, this looks creepy. I don't have any DMs from him as far as I can see. It's weird what he said though, because I get DMs from people who I don't follow all the time. Didn't really want to be chatting with an older man I don't know anything about, because it just made me uncomfortable, so I didn't reply. I screenshotted the comment and sent it to my mom, and she said to just delete it, so I did and went on with my life. It happened again on my next post. He said something like, "You still can't see my DM because you don't follow me. Follow me and we can chat." Again, I deleted this too because it was weird. I talked to my parents, and they said I could block him, but to me, he didn't seem like he'd done anything bad yet, so I haven't yet. His next comment said something similar to the last, and also something lines of, "And you know by now it's nothing creepy." Continued to ask me to follow him. I still have not, and I deleted this comment as well. Again, he comments on an older post where I'd already deleted a previous comment. He was talking about my story I'd posted, where I said for friends and family I know, to DM me if they wanted to help me out with something. He says, "Regarding your story, people can't DM you unless you follow them, and you know I'm not being creepy. Saying you're not being creepy and begging me to follow you so you can talk to me is creepy. It just is." It just gets worse from here. Every single post I make, he will comment something like this on it every time I delete it. He'll comment again. He knows I'm deleting his comments, and he's getting angry about it. I'm very close to blocking him, but kinda on the fence because I don't know what he'd do next. Edit. After reading many comments, the best way to go through with this seems to be blocking the dude. I hesitated at first because I was scared he'd freak out and harass me more. But I'm more confident in the information I've learned how to block him and new accounts he may make. I don't think he's dangerous, but it's always good to be safe, and he's definitely giving off weird vibes. I'm for sure blocking him now, and I'll give an update if anything happens or if I feel I have anything else to add. Thank you all. I'm 5'3" and 115 pounds, so I guess I'm pretty small. It's my reasoning for being very submissive over all of this. This is a lengthy story, so I'm just going to skim, and I'm not the best at telling a story, so prepare yourself. When I started working at this fast food chain, I was 16. It was my first job, and I was excited to finally take my first steps into quote-unquote adulthood. This coworker of mine was training me. For privacy purposes, I'm just going to call him Frank. Frank at first glance looks young, 19, 21 at most, and we got along good. Nothing bad or alarming. Light conversations about anime and such. I remember things started to change slightly when he was talking about a video game character, and none of our coworkers knew who it was. I saw the green hat character. I said, "Oh, that's Link. How cute. I used to watch my brother play Legend of Zelda 4 Swords." He looked at me and said, "Marry me." I laughed it off and continued on with my day. For the rest of my shift, he would hover over me asking me personal questions, like my age, favorite things, etc. Being the open, friendly person I was, I answered happily and told him how I love butterflies and that I was 16. 17 now, and I've had several jobs since. When an older man asks for your age as a minor, it's never a nice sign. Moving on to December. I've been at this chain for a month now. My manager asked me if I wanted to come to their company's Secret Santa party, and I agreed. When the day came, I arrived with my now ex-boyfriend. Frank arrives on the phone acting busy and such, but I thought nothing of it. During the whole party, he was on the phone. I was getting food when he tapped on my shoulder, still on the phone, and handed me a beautiful butterfly necklace. Didn't know what to say besides thanking him, thinking he was my Secret Santa. Then later, my other coworker comes up to me, handing me a gift card to Starbucks and a plush. I asked why, and she said she was my Secret Santa. I thought there must have been some kind of mistake, but went on with my night, listening to my old best friend tell me how I should date Frank, which in my mind was never on the table. January rolls around, and it was Frank's birthday. We were just working until I heard one of my girl co-workers, who was kind of into him at the time, wish him a happy birthday. Being that person I wished him a happy birthday, while my other co-worker asked how old he's turning. He said 27. Might I add that every shift I worked with him, he would take several photos of me before and after my shift, commenting on my hair, my skin, and eyes. Often said how cute my nose was. Again, not wanting to cause a scene, I would just laugh everything off. It's always the case, isn't it? We don't want to cause a scene. I did start telling him to please stop, but of course no matter what he wouldn't, no matter how many times I asked him to. I'm gonna skip to May, my birthday month, and of course I was working on my birthday. I went to the back door as usual. Due to COVID, I had to ring a doorbell and wait for someone to open the door. Out of nowhere, Frank pops out of the bushes handing me all kinds of gifts. Today was his day off too, so I was genuinely confused. I remember thinking, how the hell did he know my birthday? I never talk about it since I don't like celebrating it. He followed me around for a few minutes before awkwardly leaving when I apologized that I want to get to work and not get yelled at. In July, that's when I finally found a new job. I quit due to the sexual harassment I had to endure for the 9 months I worked there from my shift lead. That's a whole nother story, but when a man starts getting handsy, don't laugh it off. Shut that shit down. It got really bad when that ex-best friend that I mentioned earlier started showing all my coworkers, including Frank and that shift lead, explicit photo me's that she stole off my phone without me knowing. I was very insecure at the time, and it was in a very abusive relationship. So I would give in to anything this boy asked of me. At that point, I had about had it. After being interrogated about that shift lead, I put in my 2 weeks. On my last week, everyone was talking about how that shift lead got laid off for sexual harassment. Frank and I were doing dishes, and the topic came up. I awkwardly told him about it, not knowing how everyone knew my story. The shift lead would often grab my ass, rub my thigh, talk about my boobs, about how, if they were bigger, things he would do to my body, etc. I would say stop politely, but he would continue. I started yelling and saying stop more assertively. He would often make me do humiliating tasks, like clean the greasy floors on my hands and knees, or cleaning the dining room when it was closed due to COVID. When I told Frank this, he shrugged it off, saying that there was no reason for him to be fired. I remember being absolutely shocked and retorting, I'm just glad I'm leaving this hellhole, and left it at that. A month into my new job as a hostess, everything was going well. It's a restaurant, but everyone just comes there to drink, so it's more of a bar. On one of my 2 a.m. shifts, Frank stops by on his bike. I try to be friendly, but was getting frustrated when he kept cutting me off from talking to other people. I then walk away to bus tables because no one else would do it, and he couldn't follow me into the restaurant. After bussing all the tables, I come over to the counter to see my coworkers giggling. "What's happening?" I asked. The other hostess smiled. "It's so cute how your boyfriend takes photos of you while you're working. It's cute how obsessive he is over you. He wouldn't stop talking about you to us." Boyfriend? I was still very happily single after all of that bullcrap of a relationship. The only person they could be referring to was Frank. Then it dawned on me. How the hell did he know where I was working and my shift schedule? I didn't tell anyone besides my parents and my brother. A week goes by, and Frank comes back. I may have gotten a little overdramatic, but I didn't know what else to do. I told the other host at the counter to tell him I'm not working today, and dashed inside. I told my manager that this man keeps taking photos of me as I'm working, and it's making me uncomfortable. My manager told me to stay in the back while he went and handled the situation. Our restaurant is very popular in the area, so it's crowded in the front. Frank with his bike was blocking customers, and that's what my manager was telling him. My idiotic ass was popping my head up a little, under that backroom window where I could see what was going on in the front. I freaked out a little when I see Frank get aggressive with my manager. He begins thrashing when my manager tries to lead him back out front. Suddenly, Frank throws his bike and tries heading back inside the building. A few male waiters see what's happening, and were informed by my manager. I remember one waiter standing in the back room with me, watching the door as another was practically fighting with Frank. I could only hear yelling outside the door, and then it went quiet. I spent the rest of the shift like that, cleaning silverware with that male server. And from then on, people would walk me to my car, even if it was broad daylight. From August to November, he would be on his bike passing by the restaurant from a distance. He would just be watching and taking photos for 10 to 20 minutes before leaving. Now, the reason I thought of putting this on here was now. It's been a little bit more intense besides just looking from a distance. Due to COVID, I'm not needed anymore because now my restaurant is takeout only. I've been working seasonal jobs while working at the restaurant. But now I'm not working, waiting to get my schedule. Because I was bored this day. Drive to my local mall just to do a little Christmas shopping. While driving, I look at my rearview mirror to see a recognizable face. It was Frank. I practically choke on spit seeing his face in my mirror. I try not to get the best of myself and knock it off as a coincidence. Yeah, it wasn't. He followed me throughout the mall, then later followed me as I was driving home. No one knows where I live, besides that old friend, and I'd like to keep it like that. So I drove for an hour, getting lost and taking every random turn I could until I lost him. I now believe this is how he would track me down. My car isn't common, but it doesn't stand out too much. I've rarely left my house since. It's January 2021. Ever since the start of the new year, I've been getting phone calls going like this.
Hello? Hello?
Along with that, I've gotten many random messages asking about gifts and delivering me a gift. I'm not the only one who usually uses social media, but these messages were all over mine. All of them were from newly made accounts across from Snapchat and Instagram. On one occasion, an account started sending me photos that I've never sent to anyone. These photos were of my cat, and that I'd saved in my Snapchat album. Just photo after photo of things I've never sent, and ending with, "I have a gift for you." I deleted both apps along with deleting almost everything off my phone. A week ago, I downloaded Snapchat again due to some dumb assignment my teacher wanted us to do. One of my old coworkers sent me a message, and I opened it. "Frank wants to give you your Christmas gift. Want to stop by?" Maybe I'm just overreacting, or maybe those accounts were Frank. I just want to say my personality have changed because of all of this. I'm very protective now. I rarely talk to anyone, and I'm not as friendly as I was then. It's only been a little over a year, yet I feel like I've aged 10 plus. I just want to say, Frank, let's not meet. And fuck your Christmas gift. A few years ago, I, a 26 female, used to work at a job where I usually wouldn't get off until around 11 p.m. I really didn't mind it for the most part. I'm definitely a night owl by nature. I read a lot of Let's Not Meet and watch a lot of horror stories. I wouldn't say I'm paranoid, but I'm definitely cautious. This one particular night, I was driving home along one of the main roads. It was late enough that traffic was fairly scarce, but not so late that I felt like I was the only one out. Especially because there had been a Jeep behind me for a good while at this point. When it came time for me to make my first turn, the Jeep followed. This wasn't particularly unusual. I was still on a big road, so I didn't think anything of it. I needed to get gas, and luckily there was a fairly busy and well-lit station on my way home. I feel like the layout is important, so bear with me. From the road I was on, you had to turn left onto a side street, then right onto a street that runs parallel with the grocery store, and then turn right again to get to the gas station. It's a very specific destination, and there's no through traffic. When I went to make the first left, the Jeep got into the turn lane with me. This is when I started to pay attention. They had already been behind me for a good 10 to 15 minutes, and it seemed unlikely that they were just going to coincidentally go into the same gas station as me. considering how many there were in that area. But like I said, there's also a grocery store that's open 24 hours, so maybe they were just going there. However, they still followed me until I turned into the actual gas station. I pulled up into one of the pumps in the middle lane, put my car in park, and watched the Jeep in my rear view. There's no way in hell I was getting out of my car until I figured out what they were doing. They pulled up to a pump and started getting gas. I'd laugh at myself and carry on. They didn't pull into a pump. They lurked at the back of the lot, just idling in place for close to a minute. They started slowly driving around the far end of the pumps until they stopped again in front of my car, maybe 15 feet away. Unfortunately, they had tinted windows, so I couldn't see who was actually in the car or what they were doing. But after another brief period of time, they just drove off. I got gas and drove home, keeping an eye out, but I didn't see them again. I just realized something that honestly made me sick to my stomach. If I didn't get gas that night, and if they were in fact following me, my next turn would have been into a very large, very dark, and very empty park. It takes almost 5 minutes to drive through, and has a million speed bumps, and there really isn't any quick escape. I hate thinking about what could have happened if I hadn't stopped. Yikes. Maybe this doesn't count as creepy, and I'm reading into it too much, but I still think it's weird, and it really freaked me out at the time. No idea what they were doing. Were they following me? Was it just a coincidence after all? I'll never know for sure, but thanks. I hated it. I need help breaking this down, and I need to feel like I'm not crazy. I'm a court clerk, and I work for my local courthouse. I work in the clerk of courts, both in the office and the court itself. February 4th, I was in the office at my desk. I also will assist with customers who come into our office who have questions on certain types of filings. I am the backup coverage specifically for our records window. In my state, we are considered public records. Anyone can come in and request copies from any case, unless it's a juvenile, confidential, or sealed by the court. This is really important to the whole story. I was asked to cover the record desk from 4 to 4:30 last Friday, so our records clerk could leave a little early. No problem. I have no issue helping out when I can. Around 4:15, we had a frequent flyer, as we've so dubbed them. This man comes in frequently to get copies out of his case. I should really note the way my office is set up. It is a bit important. We are set up like the DMV, so you have to come in the main entrance of security, go down a long hallway, and it opens up into a lobby. There are elevators straight ahead, the DA's office is to the left, and the COC is to the right. You have to open a separate set of doors in our little lobby. There's a counter with windows, and it's in an L shape. If I could figure out how to attach a drawing, I will. The records window is around the corner, tucked in the back. There are also 3 public terminals where any member of the public can use to research cases in my county. So, back to the man. We'll call him Joe. Joe has an open family case. He comes in probably once a week to get copies out of his family case, or I don't know what the fuck he's doing. It's really none of my business. He came up to my window somewhere around 4:15, 4:20, and said he requested some documents. When documents are requested from the public terminals, they go into a queue, which I then go into and select them to print. I went into the queue, glanced at the documents, and asked, "Did you have 11 pages?" He said yes, so I selected and printed. I wrote him a little slip with the numbers of the copies and his total owed. I gave him the slip, directed him to go back to the window 4 to 5 for payment, and would meet him up there. I went to grab the copies off the printer, which jammed, and I messed with that for a minute. Then counted the pages and took them to the cashier. Went back to my counter to help the next person in line. The next customer was easy. Her records were prepaid and printed. After the second customer, it was 4:25. My coworker, we'll call her Lynn, asked me if I wanted to go thrifting for clothes at Plato's Closet after work. And my answer was, fuck yeah, let's go. Right as we're discussing this, I am in view of the records window, but not at it. I saw that Joe had returned to my counter. I went up to the counter and asked how I could help him. He stated, "You must be new." I'm not new. Been at my job for almost 4 years in the legal field for almost 10. I replied, "No, I'm not. How can I help you?" He made the comment about paperweight I was using. It was a gift for my niece. A painted rock from a 3-year-old. That's a fancy paperweight you got there. Sir, what can I do for you? You gave me the wrong case. No, sir. I printed off what was in the queue, so you don't need these 4 pages. I tossed the 4 pages and then adjusted his slip. 7 pages total. And sent him back to the cashier. At this point, it's 4:30. It's Friday, and we are closed. I left and headed to Plato's Closet, and it took me about 15 minutes to drive over there. Sat in my car for a few minutes and then went inside. I had beaten Lynn there, so I started browsing. She came in not long after that, stating she got caught behind a train, so we start shopping and chatting. For some reason, I looked at the door when it opened, and there was Joe. Now I knew it was Joe because he wears that dumb sock monkey hat. I saw him and got Lynn's attention. Are you seeing what I'm seeing? So I pulled Lynn into an aisle and we ducked down. She's short and I'm tall, and I wear heels a lot. I could watch his dumb hat around the store. He immediately went to the back of the store. It looked like he was rubbernecking the whole store. I watch him walk all the way to the back, grabs a pair of shoes, and glances at them, all while continued to rubberneck. I watched him as he moved, and we moved opposite. We were legitimately hiding behind clothing racks. He moved around the perimeter of the store, continuing to rubberneck, looking for something or someone. He finally leaves, and we freak out. We check the parking lot to make sure he's gone, and we try to shake it off and chalk it up to just some crazy coincidence. And then I realize we were talking about it literally in front of them. And Lynn, she's not quiet. She gets scolded on a weekly basis for her loud, carrying voice. I told the cashiers what happened, and we ended up leaving an hour later. The next day, I felt so uneasy about it. I called my boss and told her what had happened, and told her I was going to call the police. I called the non-emergency number and left a message with dispatch. I got a call from an officer a few hours later and explained what had happened. He said to get Joe's name. At this point, I recognized him, but didn't know his name offhand. Then he told me he would call me back on Wednesday when he was back on duty. So I got Joe's name and called the officer back on Monday, leaving another voicemail. Monday was fine. Tuesday, I was out of the office, but Wednesday, Joe came back. He came at 4:20 to file documents into his case. It took 20 minutes to file 2 affidavits and a motion. It should have been like a minute, maybe 2, because he needed something authorized. He left, and I had a bad feeling, so I called the officer and told him what happened. The officer said he comes back Thursday to call, and they would come down and talk to him. The police department is across the street from the courthouse. Thursday rolls around, and no Joe. Until 4:25, he beelined for the computer in the corner, and I messaged my boss. We had already put into place a safety plan. The sheriff deputies who work security were notified. 3 deputies followed him into my office. I called the police department. 2 officers came down and they questioned him. He admitted to being at Plato's Closet. He was shopping for his 2 young daughters, who are 9 and 11. They don't fit into clothes at Plato's yet. Plato's had a sister store, Once Upon a Child, and those kids really don't fit there either. So he had a receipt in his car for Once Upon a Child for 5:07 p.m. He denied hearing my conversation with Lynn and going to Plato's after work. He stated he left my office at 4:15ish and took his children shopping for clothes. He definitely did not have his children with him at the courthouse or at Plato's. He also asked the officer immediately and unprompted, "Did she call you?" He also stated that he believed his ex-wife was setting him up. Because my office is public office, He has made an arguably legitimate reasons to come into my office, so there's nothing the officers can do. They issued him an oral warning and put him on standby. The kicker is, he could opt into his case electronically, but made a big deal about not being able to opt in a few months ago. We told him if he's having issues, call the court support line, and they would be able to remedy the situation. Instead, he chooses to come in and pay $1.25 a page, instead of a one-time $20 fee. If you weren't already freaked out, last year his roommate filed a restraining order against him, followed by his roommate's girlfriend alleging sexual harassment. I won't go into details about the family case. Let's just say it's more than messy. He is also filing extremely high-level types of documents for representing himself. Update. I was in court all day. Came down to my desk around 4 or 5 p.m. and he came in around 4:10. I left while he was still at my office. What am I supposed to do? The officers can't do anything else, and I need another incident outside my office to file a restraining order. I've ordered home security, signed up for self-defense classes, and I'm purchasing mace and looking into handguns. I don't know what other options there are. I'm still shaking as I think about where I could have been right now, had I not acted on a vibe today in Hobby Lobby. I was at the store to indulge the spring sale. As I was browsing the entire store, I noticed that I kept seeing the same man wandering around. I thought he was there with his wife, until I realized that he was there alone. I also noticed that he had a Bluetooth headset in his ear the entire time. Not necessarily suspicious in itself. I really started to get a bad feeling when he followed me around the small floral section, as I weaved through the aisles. He kept looking at random flowers when I would look at him. I even saw him either talking quietly to himself, or talking to someone on his Bluetooth set. Most likely the latter. I circled through the store several times to make sure he was genuinely following me, and to wait for him to leave before I went to check out. After a while of not being able to see him around me, I went up to the front and got in line. He crept from around a corner and got in line right behind me, still holding the 2 random flowers that he had picked up. The cashier rung up my items, while I typed a note on my phone. I told her I had an online coupon and showed her the note that said, "The guy behind me has been following me throughout the store." She said that she was going to go get the manager to verify the coupon. The manager came up, read my note and said, "With the other sale applied, we might not be able to apply this coupon, but let's step aside and see what we can do." She took me past the register to get the details while the cashier rung up the man. I told her everything, and I looked back, and the guy is telling the cashier that he forgot something. He then goes back to the floral section to add another random-ass stem to his items. He looks at me talking to the manager, tells the cashier that he needs something else, leaves the register again to get another random item. At this point, I knew that he was stalling to wait for me. The manager picks up on this too, and calls up a male staff member to go out to the parking lot to make sure that the man got into his car and drove away. The guy ended up paying for his 4 random flowers and left the store. The staff member came back in and verified that he drove away, and offered to be in the parking lot until I safely drove away as well. Came out with me and pretended to grab cards until I safely made it to my car and left. I'm so thankful to the staff that immediately jumped into discreet action to ensure my safety. Hey everyone, thanks for listening if you stuck around at this point. If you haven't yet, please hit the like button, the subscribe button, and hit that notification bell to be notified when future episodes come out. You can stalk me on Twitter, stalk me on Instagram, and stalk me on Facebook. If you have a true scary story of your own, feel free to email it to me. You can also post your story to my subreddit. All of these links are below. Thank you so much for your support and all the kind words and all the cool comments and everything that you guys do for me. I really appreciate every single one of you, and I seriously appreciate everything you guys do. It means so much to me, man. I'm still such a new channel, but at the same time, I've had overwhelmingly kind words and support from everybody, and it's just awesome. It's awesome to be a part of this small little niche community that supports one another so much, whether it's creators, writers, or just fans. I love it all. Looks like, from what I can tell, the votes are in, at least as many as we can get for the time being for the next episode, and it looks like it's gonna be Craigslist stories, so hopefully I'll have that one out sometime this weekend, more than likely Sunday, and I'll also post up another poll for the following one, so look out for that. I'll see you guys in the next one. Cheers.